Grab your fam and grab some stamps because it's time for family art making. What's up, Ringling fam? It's Kallie, and today we're continuing our theme of printmaking. So if you missed last week, we made some really cool Japanese kabuki theater prints of our own. So you'll definitely want to check out that video. You can find a link to it in the description, or check out our kids art making tutorials playlist on our YouTube channel. Last week I said that printmaking is a lot like making a giant stamp to use over and over and over again. So then I thought, why don't we make our own stamps? And then I realized tomorrow is Valentine's Day, so why not make some stamps to use for Valentine's Day cards? So I went searching high and low through our collection to find some Valentine's Day cards, and I found some. In our Tibble Circus collection, I found some adorable animal-themed Valentine's Day cards. When I looked into it more, there wasn't a lot about why we have them or why Mr. Tibbles might have collected them. And by the way, if the name Tibbles sounds familiar, you might have been to our Tibbles Learning Center, and he's the one that made that giant miniature circus. So he collected these Valentines himself, even though we're not exactly sure why. But many of the animals in them were animals you would see in the circus, so maybe that's why. So let's take a look at some of these Valentine's Day cards that he collected and get some inspiration for making our own. This first one is of a tiger, and it says, "I'm just wild over you, my Valentine." And he's holding a little heart in his hand. And based on the little brass brad in the middle, it looks like you can pull his tail and his front paw would move. You'll notice that in all of these adorable Valentines. Next one up is of an alligator, and it says, "I'll be green with envy if somebody else is your Valentine." And if you move his tail, his mouth opens up and there's a little heart inside. You can kind of see it peeking out right here. Now, alligators aren't really known in the circus, so I wonder why Mr. Tibbles wanted this one. Something to think about. And this last one is my absolute favorite, a real staple of the Ringling Circus, a hippo. And this one says, "I'm simply hypnotized over you, my Valentine." I love a good pun, especially when there's a hippo involved. And he also has a little heart Valentine hidden in his mouth, just like the alligator. What you use to make these stamps is kind of up to you, but I'm going to tell you what I used first, and then you can decide what you want to do for yourself. First, I used some cardboard as the base of my stamp, so the thing that I hold on to, that I glue the actual design to. And then you'll need some glue. And I used foam sheets. If you've got an art kit, you can use the other half of that foam from last week. And this is what you cut out the designs with, so you'll need some scissors. And then I'm using a little stamp pad, a little ink pad, but if you don't have an ink pad, you can just use paint. It works just as well. You just might want to wait a little bit longer for it to dry. You could even try putting, just coloring some markers on the foam. That might work as well. And then if you don't have a foam sheet, don't worry. If you want to use foam, you could order some takeout and use the top of a foam takeout box. Or you could use a styrofoam plate, something like that. But if you don't have any of those things, you can use string to make your designs. You'll see that I do that later. You could use buttons that have pretty textures. You can make circles. You could just use some thick paper, maybe cardstock, and layer one on top of the other to act like the foam did. You could also glue some rice down to make an interesting textured pattern. You could use beads. Really anything that you find that you have at home, you could try to turn it into a stamp. But again, I will be using foam and some string. So here is a stamp that I already made, and I'm going to show you how I did it. So I just grabbed some of those little pieces of cardboard and some foam, and I wanted to make a heart shape. So I folded my foam in half and cut out half of a heart shape so it would be exactly the same on both sides. So just kind of a curve with a long angled line towards the bottom. Ta-da! So there's the heart shape, and then you just want to glue it down to your cardboard. I'm using hot glue only because I wanted to do this quickly for the video, but you can just use regular glue, it works just as well. And if you have any of those foam stickers that are shapes or letters or anything like that, you can use those for this too. It's just that easy. My heart stamp is ready to go.
Next, I wanted to make a little swirly pattern, so I'm using some string, and again, just using the hot glue for the video purposes to get this done quickly. You could make your string in any shape. You could make a heart shape, that paw print shape, whatever you want. But the main part of my Valentine is I want a lion on it. Lions are an important part of the circus, but also Reuben the lion is our mascot for our family programs here at the Ringling. So I'm actually going to be making two different pieces to make the lion's head and his mane. So first I'm drawing the mane into the foam, and then I'm just going to cut it out with those scissors. I'm making two different parts because when I tried this the first time and just glued the two pieces onto one piece of cardboard, the ink wouldn't stick to the foam that was on the bottom, so it wouldn't stick to the mane, it just stuck to his face. And it made my stamp come out looking all wonky. So if you want to make an animal, think about maybe how you could use a bunch of different shapes to create one animal. So I just glued that mane to the cardboard. And then next, I'm drawing a circle for his head and cutting that out. And that's going to be his little face. I could have gone even more detailed and created a face out of stamps with like a little nose and little eyes, but I'm just gonna draw those in with a marker later. So to make my card, I just folded a piece of paper in half because I wanted mine to open up, but you can make yours however you want. Then I just pressed those homemade stamps into the ink. If you got an art kit, you should have some little ink pad. And I wrote on it, "You're my favorite Valentine." So for the mane, I'm using gold ink versus the head, I'm going to use orange, just so it stands out a little bit more. You can tell the difference between the head and the mane. There it is. And then I'm just adding my paw prints. It really is this easy to just cut out foam and get some ink. So I'm writing the rest of my card, and I'm not lying. Had to do a pun to go along with the ones we saw earlier. You're my favorite Valentine and I'm not lying. And then I decided I needed some little hearts, and just that quickly I cut out the foam, made my tiny heart, pressed it into the ink, and stamped it onto the paper. Some final touches, I added some more paw prints. And there's my finished Valentine that says, "You're my favorite Valentine, and I'm not lying," with a little Reuben the lion inside.
So here is my finished lion theme Valentine's Day card. I think it turned out pretty cute and a little messy, so heads up, if you are using ink, you might want to make sure to wipe your hands between each use, or you'll end up with little red thumbprints like mine. But I think it turned out wonderful, and I would love to see your Valentine's Day cards, so you can send us a picture of your artwork at the Ringling Facebook page, the Family Programs Facebook page, or send us an email at education@ringling.org. I know the other members of the Ringling fam would love to see what you're making. But that's all I have for you this week, so I will see you next week at the same time in the same place. Bye! Happy Valentine's Day!